Right then, when you went your own way, was that when you went down to Championship Wrestling in Florida to work for Eddie Graham?
Yeah. Yes. I went back there, and I said, that's where I'm going. And we had been there in 69.
We're not the American Dream yet.
You're listening to another classic episode of The Steve Austin Show, only.
Did you know that right now Geico is offering an extra 15% credit on car, motorcycle, and RV policies? That's 15% on top of the money Geico could already save you. So what are you waiting for? Your dog to make you breakfast in bed? With Belgian waffles and a fresh food compote? As nice as that sounds, that's probably never going to happen. But at least there's never been a better time to switch to Geico. Save an extra 15% when you switch by October 7th. Visit geico.com to learn more.
I want to ask you about Eddie Graham, because I never got a chance to work for Eddie Graham, but I have heard so much about this guy as far as how smart he was about the business, and he was just a genius or a savant at it, and he was a great finish guy. What was it about Eddie Graham that was so genius?
Timing. And timing might not mean a lot to a lot of people, but timing, knowing when, how, what to do at what moment. His timing was immaculate. His thought on timing as far as the fan, you could say timing. They're not ready yet. I said, man, I want to go in there and kick this guy's ass. He beat me out for last week. Eddie said, no, there's a formal thing going on here. They're going to introduce you. You're going to get in. They're going to ring a bell, and you're going to start a match. You're not going to go over and jump in because he beat you up. You're going to build this thing until the time is right.
Right.
So the American Dream as an overall thing, I wanted everyone to believe in this American Dream, not that I was personally the American Dream. And when I said it, it caught on like wildfire. And then when I said it, it caught on because I was against who? Gary Hart and the Korean Assassin. Right. America against the Korean Assassin. It was in Florida. And it just went boom. And Eddie guided me through that whole thing to where everything with him, if you were an hour at the 55-minute mark, this is what you did. This is what went down at 55 minutes. And if I did not do it at 55 minutes, he would wring my ass when I got back. He would sit me down and say, you will never be successful if you do not follow these rules. Okay? And I said, there are times, though, Eddie, that the rules will change because the people will change.
Right.
He said, but they didn't change tonight, and I knew they wouldn't. Your timing was bad. Timing. And he could think of finishes. Vince Sr. would call him on finishes.
Right.
Really? They would call him. Don Orange would call him. Bob Geigel would call him. Sam Mushnick would call him. And so, I've got Steve Austin and Dick Murdoch in St. Louis this Friday night. And, it's a 1-hour time limit for the Missouri State champion. And what do you think, man? And, man, he would sit down in about 30 minutes. And then you would have if it's a 30-minute match, from minute 1 to minute 30 would be filled with timing and what was going to happen, and he took you to, he was a great writer. Unbelievable.
Right. So he mentored you, and your whole career you've kind of had an aptitude to soak all this knowledge in. As he mentored you, was there just some reason he took you under his wing? He liked what he saw in you, the future in you. Did he mentor everybody?
Yeah, he mentored a lot of guys, but as you know yourself, with Vince Jr., people love money. Right. He loved money, okay? He knew I was the money maker.
Right.
But here's a story that people don't know because they don't know who I'm talking about. Dr. Jerry Graham and Eddie Graham were the biggest things in New York City as a tag team way back in the 60s. Right. It was phenomenal how over they were. And Dr. Jerry Graham was a big, blonde, heavy-set guy like me that shook his ass. I watched him on tape. I got a lot of stuff from him for his movements and everything. When you go back and say, where did this come from?
Really?
It's a cross between him and Thunderbolt Patterson.
Yeah.
Everything came from there. So Dr. Jerry and Eddie were very close. And they became alcoholics together. And, I mean, true alcoholics. God rest his soul, Eddie. But the bottom line was that when he got me, he seen this guy that didn't look like a bodybuilder, that had the beer gut, that had this blonde hair and an afro-type wig in the 70s almost. Not wig, but real hair.
Yeah.
Flowing everywhere, and could talk like a black guy and talk like an evangelist and talk them in the building,
Yep.
as Dr. Jerry Graham did.
Right.
And he related to me through that. And of course, God rest his soul too, Mike Graham, his son, was
Yep.
a smaller guy, a tremendous hand in the ring, a great worker, and a very dear friend. But the bottom line was, I was Eddie's wrestling son.
Yeah.
Mike was his son, but I became Eddie's unspoken word was I was Eddie Graham's wrestling son.
So then Mike Graham was very instrumental in helping me when I was down in WCW. We would
Yeah.
talk about the Florida days, and there was a
Sure.
territory I never
Yeah.
got to work but heard so much about. So how was the American Dream born?